So by far, this is the most important topic for GMAT. Two things. One is the sheer weightage of this topic. Okay, this is one topic which carries maximum weightage in the exam. Second factor, which is little indirect, is the scoring pattern. If you do consecutive wrong, 3 to 4 wrong questions consecutive, that carries a bigger, much bigger penalty than doing 3-4 wrong, which is kind of dispersed all over the exam. Okay, if you do 3 to 4 wrong, huge penalty would be there for that. And because in reading comprehension you'll get 3 to 4 questions in one go. Pratik, you want to say something?
Yeah, is this the case in the new format as well?
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Okay, cool.
That doesn't change. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, because of the scoring pattern itself, this is the most, because you'll get 3 to 4 questions at least in one go. Okay. So if you're not good in RC, there is a possibility that you'll do consecutive wrong questions, at least 2-3 of them. There's a huge possibility, and I mean that's why your scoring would be very low. And let me tell you, I've not seen anyone who got 35 plus in quant. I mean, in the old pattern. I mean, people are yet to take the new one. In the old pattern, I'm yet to see a person who got 35 plus without being good in RC. Okay, so this is the most important topic. So let's see. You'll get in the older version, you used to get 4 RCs with close to 14 to 15 questions, 14 to 16, anywhere between that. Okay. In the new pattern, because there'll be total 23 questions, so you'll get 3 to 4 RCs and 12 to 13 questions. That's what you'll get in the new pattern. Okay. So in terms of weightage, in terms of percentage, it remains even bigger, because there won't be any sentence correction in the new one. And so this will be more than 50% weightage for RC in verbal section only, if we talk about. Okay. Now let's see. There'll be 2 things in RC that we need to do. One is reading the passage. That's the first task. And we need to see how do we read the passage. When we read the passage, what should be our strategy? What should we be looking at? Is it simply just reading it just like newspaper or any book that we read? Or is it something different? So we'll see that. And short passage, long passage, all kind of strategies we'll see. Second is question types. So there'll be 3-4 types of questions which are very frequently checked. For example, primary purpose question. What is the primary purpose of the passage? So that is, I mean, you'll find this question in 99% of the passages. Okay, if not 100%, at least 99% passages you'll see this question. So how to handle this question, and GMAT tests 3-4 different types of options. Okay, be it right, be it wrong. 3-4 different types of options would be there in most of the questions. And we'll see just by looking at the option, after reading the passage, just by looking at the option, we can eliminate wrong options. Okay, once we get a strong hold over how to read and what each option means. Okay, so in today's class, we'll focus more on reading strategies, because it doesn't matter what kind of question is there. If you don't read the passage well, you can't do it. As simple as that. Now, when we read the RC, there are 2-3 things, primarily 2-3 things that we need to see. One, what is the flow of the passage? Okay, flow of the passage, or in another way, we can also call it structure of the passage. What do you mean by structure or flow of the passage? Let's say let's say government of India comes up with, let's say, new budget, general budget. Okay, and you are writing a piece in a newspaper and you want to criticize it. Let's say that's your purpose. Okay. When I say primary purpose, that is your purpose of writing the column, let's say. Okay. What would you do? First, you'll spend 3 to 4 lines at least in explaining about the budget. Okay. So it could be, in some cases, it could be 1 or 2 lines. In some cases, it could be 3 to 4. It could be 5 to 6 lines as well, but not more than that. Okay. Whether you want to criticize something, whether you want to praise something, whether you want to, write about any particular thing, you'll be explaining it first, in 1, 2 lines or 5, 6 lines. Okay. That's the minimum number of lines. That's maximum number of lines you'll use in introducing that particular thing. Okay. And then mostly what happens, the first paragraph would be kind of an introduction to the topic, and second paragraph becomes the main juice of the topic. Okay. Main crux of the topic, where you'll be talking about, let's say if you're trying to criticize it, we'll talk about the shortcomings. Okay. Shortcomings of the budget, or let's say maybe the negative aspects of the budget. Okay. So let's say first paragraph was about introduction of the topic. Second paragraph was explaining what shortcomings or what negative aspects of the budget are. And that makes your whole, maybe, let's assume for a second that this is what you wanted to write. The structure of the passage becomes introduction, and then the main juice of the thing, the negative aspects, the shortcomings of the problematic areas of the budget. Okay. And sometimes there could be, let's say, third paragraph where you are giving suggestions as to these are the improvements we need to make about the budget. It could be there, it might not be there. So when you read a passage, when you read a RC passage, that is how you need to read it. Okay. What is the structure of the passage? The author starts by introduction. Then what is the author doing? It's talking about the negative aspects, positive aspects, or let's say, and after that, maybe the author is giving some suggestions. So wherever something negative is being talked about, sometimes the author gives suggestions or some proposals. Author is proposing improvements, let's say. Okay. That's how a typical structure sounds like. Okay. Does that make sense, everyone? So when you read the passage, let's say if there are 2 to 3 paragraphs, what you're trying to do is you're trying to find the role of each paragraph in the RC's context, in the passage's context. Okay. Role of each paragraph. Initially, what I would suggest is when you read a paragraph, write 1 line, a summary of the paragraph, not more than 1. Okay. Don't start writing 3, 4 lines. It's a 5, 6 line paragraph, and you start writing 3, 4 line summary. It's useless exercise. Make sure you write 1 line summary initially for every paragraph. Okay. So if you have 3 paragraphs, you'll have 3 line summary of the entire paragraph, entire passage. Okay. And trust me, at least 2 questions can be solved through those 3 lines that you'll be, marking as summary. Okay. That's how important it is. That's one thing. So your primary purpose question would be taken care of by that. Okay. And one more type of question that you'll see on many occasions, that would be, what is role of a paragraph? Role of, let's say, first paragraph, role of second paragraph, what is role of third paragraph? So once you start doing this thing, that answer is automatically, that question is automatically answered. Okay. You don't have to do anything extra for that. Right. So that's how we need to read it. So there is one more thing, very, very important. Use of contradictory words.
Mohit, your voice is breaking.
1 second. Is it better now? Audible? One second.
Mohit, could you please repeat the last 2-3 sentences that you
Is it audible, first of
said?
all, everyone?
We were
It's cracking up.
still
Just give
still
me
there
1
is-
second. Just give me 1 second. Is it audible now? Can everybody hear me right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I was saying was use of contradictory words. That's very, very important. What is a contradictory word? Words such as however, but.
So could you please repeat the last 3-4 sentences that we just said after
Yeah,
writing the
Okay.
one-line summary of
So,
paragraph?
okay. So for every paragraph, write one line summary. Okay. Make sure the summary is not more than one liner. Okay. Don't try to write 3-4 line summary. That will not make any difference. That will not be useful. Okay. Initially, at least make it a habit. Even today also, if I see some difficult passage, I write one line summary for every paragraph that I see. Okay. So that, let's say there are 3 paragraphs. So there'll be 3-line summary of each paragraph. I mean, for the entire RC, there'll be 3-line summary. That 3-line summary will be, I mean, through that, you'll be able to solve at least 2 questions. That's how questions are designed in GMAT. Okay. So one primary purpose question would definitely be solved. And going forward, you will see that 3-line summary is nothing but the primary purpose itself. Okay. It'll be just rephrasing that summary. Primary purpose questions will be solved then and there itself. That's one thing. Second, on many occasions, you'll see one question, which is role of the paragraph, role of the 3rd paragraph, let's say, role of the 2nd paragraph. It could be, role of any paragraph. So that summary itself is the role of that paragraph. Okay. So that's how you need to look at every single paragraph, if at all it is there. Okay. Any doubt up until this point?
Sir, in the examination, or if you are working under a timer, let's say if you are unable to comprehend a passage, then
We'll see that. Honestly, that's something we'll be talking about in 3rd class, not in 1st class of RC. Okay. That timing thing, in 3rd and 4th class, we'll be talking about time management and long paragraphs, long and tough passages. Okay. If it is long,
I was just asking about the reread thing, the rereading. Sometimes when
right now you can do reading, no problem. Right now, just we are trying to incorporate these strategies into our reading part. That's all.
Okay. All right.
Timing will come to that, but you can't come to timing if you don't know how to use these approaches, first of all. And timing comes on the 2nd place. First is accuracy.
Okay. Correct.
First, we'll work on accuracy. See, if we don't have accuracy, if we focus on timing, it'll only go down, the accuracy. Okay. So first we'll build accuracy, and then we'll talk about timing. Third and 4th class will be all about how to manage tough passages and how to manage timing. Okay.
All right.
So this is what we'll be looking at. Second thing, use of contradictory words. Contradictory words are, like however, but, yet, although, or even though, it's one and the same thing. Still, those kind of words. Okay. Contradictory. I mean, the name itself suggests these words are used to contradict what is already written. For example, the Indian economy is doing good. This is a line. After that, I start the next line by this word, however. What do you mean by this? First line is something good about Indian economy. And then we start by using this word, however. What comes to mind? What should be coming next? Something opposite of what is written.
Correct.
Opposite of what is already written in the previous line or previous 2-3 lines. After however or but or although or still, something opposite would be coming. Let's say there are some gray areas, in the economy, the informal economies, or it's unmanageable. Those kind of, it could be anything. I mean, this is just an example. Okay, so something else would be coming. Now that's like an indication for you as to what is the flow of the paragraph, in what direction the RC is going. Okay, in what direction the author is trying to take it. Okay, so however, would mean something opposite is coming. The word moreover means something, it indicates continuation of the tone. Okay, however means opposite tone. Okay, if you're talking good about something, we might be talking about bad or some shortcomings. Moreover means we'll be continuing the tone of the paragraph. Okay, Indian economy is doing good. Moreover, I mean, if you use this word moreover after that, you can expect only good things about the economy. Now, whatever tone was there in the previous line, after moreover, the same tone would be maintained. We'll be talking about other good things about, economy. Okay, so these are few things we need to take into account while reading. So today's class will take 4-5 small and medium sized RCs, and we'll focus on understanding the reading strategy part. How do we incorporate these things into the passage? Okay, and the reason why we are talking about these reading strategies that we just mentioned, the whole reason is that GMAT builds those things into the passages itself. Okay, the passages it chooses and the questions that are based, the questions that are designed, they're designed to be solved by using these strategies. Okay, all the questions, I mean, the strategies that we are talking about right now, strategies we'll be talking about in second and third class. 99% questions can be solved accurately within less than 2 minutes with those strategies. Okay, and 1%, after 99%, that 1% left over is not because the approaches will not be applicable to those questions. It could be different reasons as to, let's say you didn't read the passage properly. It's a tough passage, you're under time pressure. That 1% is factored in for that. Okay, otherwise all the questions would be done through those strategies. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's open the sheet. Okay, do one thing. See this first paragraph, in recent years Western business managers, this one. Let's do one thing. Let's do the second paragraph. It's a little easier. Coral reefs are one of the most fragile, this passage. Take 2 minutes, read the passage. Okay, don't attempt the questions as of now. Once you're done, just write it in the chat box so that you're done reading the passage. and then we'll read it together as to how do we, we'll see how do we incorporate those strategies into this thing, and then we'll solve the questions. Okay. First, just read the paragraph, take 2 minutes. It's a small paragraph, and it shouldn't take more than 2 minutes. And I mean, if it is taking more than two, you can take 3 minutes, 4 minutes, no problem initially. Once you're done, write it in the chat box, then we'll read it together, and we'll see how do we, read it, and then we'll come to the questions. Okay. So I hope everybody has the sheet. Let me know
Hi Mohit, can
Yeah.
you share the sheet?
It's there in the chat box. I've uploaded it there. See if you can download it from there.
I can't see.
Can't see in the chat box? It's not there. Just go at the top if you can see.
Maybe I'll join later.
Just 1 second. I'm sharing it again. Just 1 second. Done. Can you see it now?
Yes, I can see.
Just download
Thank
it
you.
from there. Yep. Okay. Let's see the passage. And we'll also try to fine tune our the way we read the passage. We'll try to fine tune those things. Okay. Coral reefs are one of the most fragile, biologically complex, and diverse marine ecosystems on Earth. So we are talking about coral reefs. A few things are mentioned about coral reefs. Okay. This ecosystem is one of the fascinating paradoxes of the biosphere. Okay. So see, when the author says something is a paradox, I hope all of you know what is a paradox. If the author says something is odd, those kind of things. The author is characterizing something. So, I mean, just by saying that it's odd, I mean, if you're writing a piece, let's say, in a newspaper, in a magazine, if you say something is odd, then obviously you'll explain what is that odd thing about it. Okay, why is it odd? Why are we calling it a paradox? So you should anticipate, you should accept, I mean, you should expect that this explanation of this paradox must be there going forward. Okay. And what is that paradox? How do clear and thus nutrient poor waters support such prolific and productive communities? That's the paradox. Okay. The waters in which they stay, they are nutrient poor. Okay. But they do, the populations are very prolific and productive, the communities. Okay. So that's a paradox. Right? Two opposite things. How do these things exist? Part of the answer lies within the tissues of the corals themselves. Now, the author is explaining why this paradox is happening. Okay. I mean, the answer to that paradox, explanation of that paradox. Okay. This line was, what is that paradox? The paradox is waters are nutrient poor, but still the populations thrive. That's a paradox. And next, the explanation as to why this happens, that explanation is also given here. Answer lies within the tissues of the corals themselves. Symbiotic cells of algae known as zooxanthellae carry out photosynthesis using the metabolic wastes of the coral nearby, producing food for themselves, for the corals, hosts, and even for other members of the reef community. The symbiotic process allows organisms in the reef community to use sparse nutrient resources efficiently. So we know what this paragraph is about. Now, when I said just write one line summary. Now, when I say one line summary, you don't get into the details of the things here. So what you do is that the first paragraph, the role of the first paragraph is talking about the paradox, okay, of coral reef communities. Okay. And the reasons of that paradox.
Part of the answer.
I mean, the explanation of why that paradox exists. Okay. So that is your summary. You don't get into details. You don't start writing that there are symbiotic cells of algae. No, that's not the summary that you're writing. Okay. Some summary that you're writing is in terms of role. Okay. What is the context of the first paragraph? Okay. What do you want to write in the first paragraph? Okay. And similarly, I mean, we'll read the second paragraph. In the same manner, you'll write the summary of the second paragraph as to what is the role of the second paragraph. And you will see your 2 to 3 questions would be answered. I mean, if there are 5, 6 questions, then 2 to 3 would be answered just by that. Let's see. Unfortunately, now some negative word is coming. Okay. So obviously, when we use this word, unfortunately, something bad is happening. Something bad is coming up. For coral reefs, however, now this word, however, is also there. I mean, we were talking about how that paradox is good and how communities thrive in that paradox. When we say, however, we'll be talking about the problems. Definitely, some kind of problems those communities would be facing. A variety of human activities are causing worldwide degradation of shallow marine habitats by adding nutrients to the water. So the problem the communities are facing. Okay. So human activities are adding nutrients to the water, and that is causing worldwide degradation of the habitats. Agriculture, slash and burn, land clearing, sewage disposal, and manufacturing that creates waste byproducts all increase nutrient loads in those waters. Okay, so author was talking about adding nutrients. So in this line, the author is simply mentioning the activities which are adding nutrients to the water. Okay. Typical symptoms of reef decline are destabilized herbivore populations and an increasing abundance of algae and filter feeding animals. Okay. Uh, Symptoms of problems. Decline in reef communities are consistent with observations that nutrient input is increasing in direct proportion to growing human populations, thereby threatening reef communities sensitive to subtle changes. So, how increasing population is, linked to the decline in those communities. Okay. So, second paragraph is all about problems the communities, reef communities are facing due to human activities.
Sir, I wrote threats to coral for the.
Problems mean threats. Yeah, I mean it's one and the same thing. I'm just writing it in a broader sense. That's it. Okay, threats, problems. I don't see any difference. So whatever you've written is totally fine. Okay, problems or threats to the communities due to human activities. That should be good enough as a summary of the paragraph. Okay, because that's all that we are explaining here. Symptoms of the problems. What is causing more nutrients to the water, what is adding more nutrients, and it's linked to increasing population. So it's all about human activities, how it is causing problems or threats to the communities, reef communities. That's all. So these are the two things. First, explaining the paradox. I mean, what is the paradox and what is the reason why that paradox exists? That's the role or the context of the first paragraph. Second, the communities are facing problems or risks or threats due to human activities, and explaining those threats and the causes of those. That's it. And causes and symptoms both. Okay. So these are the two the two things. Okay. So if I ask you what is the paragraph, what is the passage all about? Okay. It's about coral reef communities. Okay. How that, what is the paradox, first of all, and how do they exist in that paradox, and what problems or threats the communities are facing because of human activities. That's what the author wanted to write through this passage. Okay. Any doubt at any point, if anybody has? So now, since the passage is clear, there are 5 questions. Take 7-8 minutes, okay, and try to answer these questions. 7-8 minutes should be enough, because most of the, not most, but some of the questions you can easily solve. And again, read slow initially. Read every statement carefully. Focus on each and every word initially. Later on, we can speed up things when we get used to those words or some patterns that are used. Okay, so just try to focus on elimination of wrong options. That should be the main criteria. Okay, so give it a try. Take 7-8 minutes, 5 questions. Once you're done, just write your answers in chat box, and then we'll discuss each and every question. Okay, give them a try. Okay, everybody through the questions? Let me know if you need more time.
So 30 seconds.
Sure.
Yes, sir, we can move ahead.
Okay, let's see. The passage is primarily concerned with. So we'll look at each and every option. Okay, and one more thing. It's very important initially, at least with initial 30-40 passages that you'll be solving in class and practice, that you know the reason why you are eliminating an option. I mean, there could be a case where you know why one option is the correct one. Okay, that's totally fine. But it's equally important initially why an option is wrong. Okay, that's equally important, and I would say it's more important than knowing what's the correct option. Because when things get difficult, when you will get tough questions, when you will get tough passages, it'll be easy to eliminate rather than picking the right answer. So it's more important why an option is wrong. It's very, very important. Okay, let's see. Describing the effects of human activities on algae in coral reef. So should we keep it? Should we remove it? You tell me.
I remove it.
Because the passage is not about human activities, effect of that on algae. No, we're talking about effect of human activities on coral reef communities, not just on algae. And we are not talking about algae in that sense. Okay, option A is wrong because of that. Second, explaining how human activities are posing a threat to coral reef communities. So are we explaining that thing?
In the second paragraph, yes.
Yes. Second paragraph entirely is all about that. So let's keep it. Let's not eliminate it. Okay. I'm not saying this is the correct answer. It might be, it might not be, but let's keep it. Let's not remove it. Okay. C, discussing the process by which coral reefs deteriorate in nutrient poor waters. That's completely wrong. They don't deteriorate in nutrient poor waters. No, they are deteriorating in nutrient rich waters. When nutrients get added to water, then there is a problem for those communities, not in nutrient poor waters, they actually thrive. Okay. How do nutrient poor water support such prolific and productive communities? So option C is actually wrong, factually wrong. Okay. Aman, can you see that?
Sir, I think I missed the
nutrient poor. I think you didn't read
poor water.
maybe with that carefulness.
But I also chose option B first, but then I thought only the second paragraph was explaining, how human activities are posing a threat.
We'll come to that, but option C is factually wrong, na?
Yeah, absolutely.
Option C is factually wrong. D, explaining how coral reefs produce food for themselves. They are not even producing food for themselves. Algae produce food for themselves. So D is also factually wrong. Okay. Describing the abundance of algae and filter feeding animals in coral reef. That is just one line. I mean, that's just one line, and it's not even describing. It's just a symptom of reef decline. Okay. So I mean, if we compare it with B, E is clearly out. Right now, I mean, we have removed 4 options. B is the only remaining option. So obviously that has to be the answer. Now let's see one very important thing. Aman, you were saying that B is something which is explained only in second paragraph, right?
Sir, I was focused on discussing the process. I
Uh, you're not audible. I lost you.
thought, sir,
Fine.
actually, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sir, in option C, I thought discussing the process, the process by which human activities are creating, are adding nutrients to this nutrient poor waters, and because of that,
No, no.
coral reefs are deteriorating.
So see, what option C clearly says is that coral reefs deteriorate in nutrient poor waters. They don't deteriorate in nutrient poor. They actually thrive in nutrient poor waters. They deteriorate in nutrient rich waters.
Okay.
Right? See, okay. Now let's take for instance, you want to write an article as about effect of human activities on coral reef communities. That's let's assume you want to write an article on this thing. Okay. Now to explain the effect of human activities, do you think you have to explain this part as well in order to explain this thing?
Yes.
Yes. So it's not just, I mean, when I say, or when you said that it's only explained in second paragraph, it's not that we can do away with first paragraph because we want to write about this. We can't do away. So if we want to talk about, let's say, problem areas with those communities, you have to explain things about that communities first. You have to do the introductory part at least.
All
Got
right.
it?
Yes.
So you can't do away with this. So most of the time you'll find this thing actually. 1 or 2 paragraphs would be talking about that so-called primary purpose, okay, the main concern of the author, and you'll find the first paragraph as merely an introductory part, which is just a necessity. We have to write it. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You'll see this in almost every paragraph, or almost every passage. Okay, so it's not something new. It's not something which is isolated for this paragraph. You'll find it in most of those cases. Okay. Yeah, Saksham, you want to ask something?
Yeah, yes. Like in this paragraph, we were given two paras. In this comprehension, we were given two paras. One was dealing with something, the survival of coral reef, and
Right.
another was the effect of the human beings.
Human activities
That
on
was
those communities.
like in this particular case, in this first question,
Mhm.
it has been told that explaining the human effects are posing a threat to coral reef communities. Now it is fitting into it. Whereas if
Right.
we were given into a second option where it was describing the nutrient, deficient, how they are surviving as a coral reef communities. So in both the options, it would have been, which one to we were supposed to pick up the right.
So what you're saying is instead of option C, I mean, if we change the option C by saying discuss the process by which coral reefs thrive in nutrient poor waters, right?
Yes, yes.
So see, if you want to talk about how coral reefs thrive in nutrient poor waters, do we need second paragraph for that? Do we need to talk about how human activities are causing problems? We don't.
No.
Then second paragraph shouldn't exist.
Okay.
Okay. So see, we want to talk about this issue, what is mentioned in second paragraph. That's why we are writing it, first of all. Otherwise, we won't write it. Okay. First paragraph is just out of necessity.
Okay.
Just out of compulsion, because we want to explain how human activities deteriorate that. In order to explain that, we have to explain how they thrive, how they survive right now, how the communities are right now. Okay. Because otherwise, we won't understand the effect of human activities on this. Understood?
Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So all these things you will see in almost every paragraph. So it's always good to get your doubts cleared right from the first paragraph itself. Let's say the second question. So see, the primary purpose question is what we call as the global question. Global as in it takes care of the entire theme of the RC. Okay. The whole RC has been written for what purpose? Okay. Now, after that, for example, question number 3, the author refers to filter feeding animals in this line in order to do what? These are called localized questions. Okay. They are dealing with 1 or 2 lines of the entire paragraph. Okay, they're not talking about the whole entirety of the passage. Let's see the second question. The passage suggests which of the following about coral reef communities. Let's see. Coral reef communities may actually be more likely to thrive in waters that are relatively low in nutrients. Does it talk about that? I think yes.
Yes.
It does talk about that. Okay, they're more likely to thrive in waters that don't have too many nutrients. So let's keep option A. I mean, there is no reason why we should eliminate option A. Okay. Nutrients on which coral reef communities thrive are only found in shallow waters. Is it mentioned anywhere? They're found only in, I mean, the nutrients on which they thrive are found only in this kind of waters. Is it mentioned anywhere? No. I mean, the whole passage is silent about the kind of nutrients, the type of nutrients. Okay. If at all we are talking about nutrients, it's about being, abundance of nutrients, not the type of nutrients. Okay. Option B says the kind of nutrients on which they thrive are found in these kind of waters. No, we're not talking about that. I mean, that's not even a topic. Okay. And any doubt with the option B? Why did we eliminate it? Human population growth has led to changing ocean temperatures. We are not talking about ocean temperature. This is like out of scope, I would say. Out of scope of this passage. We are not talking about temperature at all. Okay. The growth of coral reef communities tends to destabilize underwater herbivore populations. Okay. I mean, the passage is talking about this kind of a thing somewhere. So what does it say? I mean, what do you say about this? Should we keep it?
Sir, so they are not related like that. But it's just a sentence in the passage.
Now, if you see option D says the growth of the communities is destabilizing the population.
So it is opposite what is
It's
mentioned
the
in the
other way
passage.
around actually. It's the other way around actually. Okay, it's the human activities that are destabilizing herbivore population. Okay, when coral reef communities are deteriorating, that's I mean, this destabilized herbivore population is a symptom of that. It's not a symptom of growing communities. It's a symptom of problematic communities. Okay, so that's why option C there would be out. Option D. Okay, option D is factually wrong in a way. Coral reef communities are more complex and diverse than most. Are we comparing them to other ecosystems? Does it say it's more complex and more diverse than most of the other? When you see this word most, this should raise some eyebrow. Okay, in more than 90% of the questions, when some extreme language is used, some extreme cases taken, just see this with some suspicion. Most of the cases, 90% of the cases, this kind of option is wrong. Wherever extreme words are there. Saksham, you want to ask something? Saksham, you want to ask something? Saksham, Prateek?
No, nothing. It got clear.
Acha. Okay.
I mean, the passage does actually talk about coral reef community being more complex. I mean, I know.
Does it say it's more complex than other ecosystems?
It says that it's one of the most. I mean, I know why. I mean, for me, the reason of elimination of this answer was that we're not talking about we're not talking about, at least it doesn't say anything about land specifically. That's the reason why I eliminated it, but it still talks about it being the most
Right. Let's see the language of the question option. Coral reef communities are more complex and diverse than most ecosystems located on dry land. First of all, the option talks about dry land, and the passage talks about marine ecosystems. Marine means ocean ecosystems. Right, Prateek?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
That's I mean, this itself is sufficient to eliminate that option. First of all, option talks about dry land. It talks about marine ecosystems. Okay, and it says when it says one of the most fragile biologically complex. So they could be, let's say, there are total 1,000 ecosystems on Earth. Let's assume for a second. It's one of the most fragile. So, I mean, does it lie in top 10? Does it lie in top 100? There could be 100 ecosystems which are equally fragile and complex, let's say. So we can't say it's more complex than most of the other ones.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Agreed.
Right? So it's different. Technically, it's different. Okay. And we don't need to get to that extent because it's marine ecosystem. The option talks about dry land, so that's totally a no-go area. So A is the answer here, easily, no doubt. Coral reef communities are more likely to thrive in waters that are low in nutrients. So A is your answer. Let's talk about third up question. The author refers to filter feeding animals in order to. Let's see what it is talking about, filter feeding. Okay. Now, first of all, when the question is, it refers to this thing in order to. Okay. In order means, why is the author mentioning that? Okay. In what context the author is mentioning that? That's your question. Okay. Now, when you talk about this, what is the role of this, but mentioning this thing, why is it being mentioned? The answer has to be in those 1 or 2 lines where it is mentioned, not anything beyond that. Okay. So we are talking about abundance of algae and filter feeding animals. Okay. The whole line is about what? Typical symptoms of reef decline are 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Symptoms of reef decline are these 2, 3 symptoms. And abundance of filter feeding animals is one of the symptoms. Right? This is used in this context only. Only in this context. Any other context mentioned in the option, that would be simply eliminated. Is that thing clear, first of all? It's used in a particular context, very limited context, which is symptom of reef decline. Any other thing, that any option talks about, that's simply out. Let's see. Provide an example of characteristic sign of reef deterioration. Yes or no? I mean, in or out, this option.
We can keep it.
Keep it. Okay. It's one of the symptoms. Okay. When I say characteristic sign means what? Symptom is that, that's what it means. So the correct option would always be, it's a rephrasing of that particular line where it is mentioned. Most of the time, it'll simply be, the correct options would simply be rephrasing that sentence. Option A is actually rephrasing that whole thing here. Okay. We explain how reef communities acquire sustenance for survival. Totally out of context. There's no context matching there. Identify a factor that helps herbivore populations thrive. Is it talking about that?
No, sir.
So in that line, are we talking about how herbivore populations thrive? And this is one of the factors? Clearly not. Indicate a cause of decreasing nutrient input. Is it a cause of, are we talking about in that context about how nutrient input is decreasing and it's a cause of that? No, it's actually an effect of increasing nutrient input. Okay. Effect of increasing nutrient input. Not a cause, it's an effect. Okay. Identify members of coral reef communities that rely on coral reef for nutrients. Is it the context as to what communities rely on coral reefs for nutrients? And this is an example of that? No.
No.
So that context, if you just catch hold of that context, all the 4 options are out, other than the correct option. Okay. It's so the whole idea is this kind of question, as to this particular line or this particular phrase refers, it's mentioned. Why is it mentioned? We need to pick the context, and that context must simply be rephrased in the correct option. Any other, see what happens in these kind of questions, why these kind of questions can be tricky. See, something is mentioned, let's say here it is mentioned or at some option. What you'll see is, what your mind will think is that this kind of thing is mentioned somewhere in the passage. somewhere in passage this is mentioned. So at the back of your mind, your mind starts thinking that this could be the answer, let's say, or this could be, I mean, any one option could be the answer, okay, other than the correct one. So your mind gets confused as to everything that is written in the options is mentioned somewhere in the passage. So how can I eliminate that? Okay. So your answer lies in that context in which that particular thing is mentioned. Any other context, doesn't matter whether it is mentioned in the passage or not. It could be mentioned anywhere else in the passage. That should be wrong. Any other context. Okay. Let's see question number 4. According to the passage, which the following is a factor that is threatening the survival of coral reef communities? That should be a easy question. The waters they inhabit contain few nutrient resources. Is it threatening the survival?
No, sir.
Okay. I mean, this can't be the answer. A decline in nutrient input. A decline in nutrient input cannot be the cause. It's the increase in nutrient input. The degraded waters in the marine habitats have reduced their ability to carry out photosynthesis. Has it reduced their ability to carry out photosynthesis?
We don't know that.
We don't know. It's not, I mean, see, coral reef communities, algae that is present there, that carries out the photosynthesis. Does it say the algae dies down or it doesn't, it's not able to do photosynthesis? That's not mentioned anywhere as a cause. They are too biologically complex to survive in habitats. Totally wrong. In minimal nutrient input, they are actually thriving in that. Waste byproducts result in increase in nutrient input. Yes, clearly that's your answer. Okay, that's a pretty simple question, I would say. Very easy to eliminate, very easy to pick the correct option. Fifth, it can be inferred from the passage that the author describes coral reef communities as paradoxical. Now, the first 2-3 lines. Okay, what is that paradox? For it's mentioning it as a paradox. For what reason? They're thriving even though human activities have depleted the nutrients. Factually wrong. Human activities are not depleting, it's increasing the nutrients. They're able to survive in spite of overabundance of algae? No. They're able to survive in an environment with limited food resources? Yes. Limited nutrients. Okay. They're able to survive even if the food sources are limited. Yes, that's a paradox, and this is what is being mentioned. Let's keep it. Their metabolic wastes contribute to the degradation of water. I mean, totally out. They're declining even when the water surrounding them remains clear. They're not declining because of water remaining clear. Water gets degraded, and that's how they decline. Okay, not in clear waters. Obviously, C would be the answer. Okay, again, easy question. Nothing difficult about it. Any doubt with any question, if anybody has, let me know. Okay, so let's do the first paragraph now. This in recent years, Western business managers. Okay. Take 2-3 minutes, read it, and then we'll read it together. After that, we'll be doing questions. Okay, give it a try. Shall we discuss, guys?
Yep.
Okay, let's see. In recent years, Western business managers have been heeding the exhortations of business journalists and academics. One second. In recent years, Western business managers have been heeding the exhortations of business journalists and academics to move their companies toward long-term, collaborative, strategic partnerships with their external business partners. Okay, so the topic is that Western business managers have been heeding. They've been taking the advice. They've been following the advice of journalists and academics to move their companies toward long-term, collaborative, strategic partnership with external business suppliers. Partners. This is the this is the starting point. Let's see how it take it, in what direction it takes it. The expert advice comes as a natural reaction to numerous studies conducted during the past decade that compared Japanese production and supply practices with those of the rest of the world. Okay, so some studies were conducted. They compared Japanese business practices, production and supply practices, with those of the rest of the world. The link between success of a certain well-known Japanese automaker and its effective management of its suppliers, for example, has led to an unquestioning belief within the Western business management circles in the value of strategic partnership. So up until this point, okay, it's simply telling me the belief in Western management circles in the value of the strategic partnership. So this belief, what created that belief? Okay, so this study, numerous studies that were conducted by academics, and in those studies, one example is given: success of a certain well-known Japanese automaker in its effective management of its suppliers, that had led to this belief. Okay, indeed, in the automobile sector, all the 3 US manufacturers and most of the European competitors have launched programs to reduce their total number of suppliers and move towards strategic partnerships with a few. So if we have to summarize it, Western business managers they have been listening to the advice or suggestions from experts and academics, and what led to those beliefs. Okay, beliefs about how those Japanese automakers manage their suppliers, strategic management of the suppliers. You can see reducing the total number of suppliers, moving towards strategic partnership. What led to that belief? That's the main thing. Okay, the numerous studies that were conducted, results of those studies led to those beliefs, and Western business managers have been kind of paying serious concern to those advices and suggestions. This is what the first paragraph is about. Second paragraph starts with however. When second paragraph starts with however, that means it's going to be totally opposite. Let's see. New research. Okay, see, whatever belief was created, it was due to some study, some research being conducted. Now we are talking about something new research concerning supplier relations, demonstrate that widespread assumption or that belief that was there, the assumption of Western managers and business consultants. And what was that belief? That Japanese firms manage their suppliers primarily through strategic partnerships. So new research shows that this assumption is unjustified. Okay, so is it a total somersault? Yes, it's totally opposite view. We are talking about new research that tells us that whatever assumption, whatever belief we were talking about in first paragraph, that is totally unjustified. Not only do Japanese firms appear to conduct a far smaller proportion of their business through strategic partnerships than is commonly believed, but they also make extensive use of market exchange relationship. So in first paragraph, people were thinking that they're using lesser number of lesser number of suppliers, and they're doing business through strategic partnerships. So this new research shows not only do Japanese firms conduct far smaller proportion of their business through strategic partnership, but they also make extensive use of market exchange relationships, in which either party can turn to marketplace and shift to different business partners at will. Using or changing partners at will, changing business partners, a practice usually associated with Western manufacturers. Okay, so it's very clear. Second paragraph is kind of it's telling me totally opposite of what is mentioned in the first paragraph. That is the belief mentioned in the first paragraph. The first paragraph mentions about what is that belief, okay, and what led to that belief. What led to that belief? Okay. Now, second paragraph starts by mentioning a new research which says that that belief is unjustified. The results of that research show that. Okay, that's what it is all about. Understood, everyone? Any doubts? Any questions? Now, again, in order to say that that belief is wrong, is unjustified, let's say. In order to say that in first paragraph, you have to mention about that belief in first paragraph. There's no way around. So clearly, what is mentioned in the second paragraph is the primary purpose. Can we say that? Everybody able to understand that now?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I mean, we wanted to talk about second paragraph. That was the main purpose. But out of compulsion, we have to mention about the first paragraph because we have to introduce the topic at least. Okay. So that's the case with almost every topic or every kind of passage you'll see. Okay.
So, sir, any purpose.
Hello. Hello. You're not audible.
The primary purpose or the gist of the passage will always be given by author or who is writing the passage, or can it be given by some?
When I say primary purpose means the reason why the author is writing the passage. That's what it means.
All right.
Okay. So when I say the passage is primarily concerned with, it simply means the author is what is the author concerned with? Nothing else. Okay. All right. So now how many questions are there? 5 questions. Again, takes 7-8 minutes and go through all the questions. Gone through all questions? Let me know if you need more time. Okay, let's see. The passage is primarily concerned with examining economic factors that may have contributed to the success of certain Japanese company. Are we talking about what factors led to the success of certain Japanese companies? In that case, why
Sure.
would we have the second paragraph? Okay, because second paragraph says there are some studies which say that whatever one good factor we are attributing success to, that factor is unjustified. That factor may not exist even. Okay, we might be wrongly attributing it to that factor. So that's out. Discussing the relative merits of strategic partnerships as compared with those of market exchange relationship. Are we saying X, Y, Z, these are the good things about strategic partnership, and A, B, C, these are the good things about market exchange relationship? We're
No,
not
sir.
talking about that. Okay. Challenging the validity of a widely held assumption about how Japanese firms operate. The second paragraph is all about talking about that assumption that we were making in the first paragraph. That assumption might be wrong. Isn't it what we are doing in second paragraph? In first paragraph, we are discussing what that assumption is. In second paragraph, we are saying that that assumption might be wrong. So we are actually challenging the validity of that assumption. So let's keep option C. Explaining why Western companies have been slow to adopt. We are not talking anywhere that the Western companies have been slow to adopt that particular practice. That's not mentioned anywhere in the paragraph. Pointing out certain differences between Japanese and Western supplier relationships. See, we are mentioning about just one difference, if at all we are mentioning it. Okay, that is the strategic partnership with the partners. We are not talking about certain differences. We are talking about just one difference in that sense. So option E in that way is totally wrong. Okay. And second paragraph is not about any difference or something like that. Second paragraph is all about the assumption that we made in the first paragraph, and that assumption may not be correct. It's all about that. So the primary purpose has to revolve around that option C. Any doubt with any option here? Let me know.
So regarding option A,
Hmm.
like I rejected the option, like these are not economic factors. These are like some
These are not
strategic
economic
partners.
factors. These are business factors.
Yeah.
Economic factor might be different from that. Okay. Economic fact, I mean, we are talking about certain business practice, right? Not economic factors. So that's why this is wrong. Okay. And any which way, why would we mention second paragraph in that sense? The second paragraph would be like redundant in that case, if this is what we're talking about, right?
No, like second paragraph is also about Japanese only. Like first they are mentioned like strategic partnership, then
In second
second is
paragraph, we're
market
not talking
exchange.
about what has contributed to the success of that, Japanese companies. Second paragraph, out and out, is about one assumption about Japanese companies, and that assumption is wrong or might be wrong.
Yeah.
We are not evaluating, or we are not trying to find out factors that led to success of certain Japanese companies in second paragraph.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, understood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other doubt if anybody has?
So just out of curiosity, Mohan, is it okay that we start eliminating just based on, let's say, the first word in itself? Because we know that
I got a point, Prateek. Second class is all about primary purpose questions and inference questions. So we'll talk about that first word that you're talking about. Exactly, that's what we'll talk about in second class. Okay. Let's see second. According to the passage, the advice referred to in the highlighted text was a response to which of the following? So what advice? So the first yellow, highlighted letter. This advice comes as a reaction to numerous studies, okay, that compared Japanese production and supply practices with those of the rest of the world. So this advice is a reaction of results of the studies. Okay, let's see. So, the question is, what led to this advice? Okay, response to which of the following, or a reaction to which of the following? It's like rephrasing that thing itself. It's a reaction to certain decrease in number of, no, it's a reaction to certain studies. So we need to stick to that. Okay, it's not, it's not a response to certain decrease in something. No. Is it a response to debate within Western management circles regarding the value of strategic partnerships? No. It's a response to studies. It's a response to success of certain European automobile? Not at all. Not success of European, but success of some Japanese maybe. An increase in demand? No. A response to research comparing Japanese business practices with those of yes. I mean, it's a very straightforward E option. All other 4 options are not talking about any studies or research. Right? Any doubt? So once we get clear about what that advice is, elicited by, it's a response to some studies. Option, I mean, all other 4 options are very easy to eliminate in that case. Okay, any doubt, any question here? Okay, let's see third question. The author mentions success of a certain well-known Japanese automaker in order to. So it's a similar question. In what context that is being mentioned? Let's see. Now, if you see this word, for example, okay, that means this is being quoted as an example. Okay, as an example to what? I mean, if it's effective management of its supplier, the link between success of this and its effective management of suppliers. So this is being mentioned as an example of success of certain business practice. This business practice. Okay, it's an example of that success. Okay, let's see which option captures that. Demonstrate some of the possible reasons. No, not at all. It's not a reason, it's an example of that success, not a reason. Can you see that difference? Reason versus example. Right? It's not, I mean, we're not mentioning reasons there, we are mentioning as an example. Cite a specific case. Yes, example is what? A specific case that has convinced Western business experts of the value of a certain business practice. Yes. X is linked with success. With success of a company. X means that business practice. So the value of that business practice, the Western business experts are convinced with that value. It's a specific case of that. It's a specific example of that. So let's keep option B. Describe certain specific steps. Is it a step? Steps taken? No, not at all. Introduce a paradox. I mean, there's no paradox we are talking about. Indicate the need for Western managers to not indicating. It's an example of the studies that we were conducting. I mean, one of the it's a specific case that they would have studied in those research. Okay, so option B really captures exactly what it is.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
So whenever we are solving a question, do we need to refer to the passage every time? As in, if even
in such a case, it's always good to refer so that you don't miss out on anything.
All right.
Okay. So the idea is, when you read a paragraph, when you're reading a passage, I mean, you are convinced that you have gone through it properly. You know the structure of the paragraph, everything else. But when you have a localized question, okay, when it is referring to one instance or one, let's say, one line or phrase, I would say, do look at that. I mean, a 30-second thing can help you, avoid a mistake. Okay? It's always good. I mean, personally, I would definitely do that. Okay. Quote, which of the following is most clear example of practice referred to in the last sentence? What is last sentence? Last sentence is about market exchange relationships, in which either party can turn to marketplace and shift to different business partners at will. So this is the practice we are talking about, where a company is shifting its business partners frequently. Okay, so these kind of questions are very frequent, wherein certain thing is mentioned in paragraph, and we'll be talking about, the options would be talking about certain example of that practice. Okay, certain example, or in some cases, the question could be analogy to that situation. Okay, it's a similar thing, right? Let's see. So the example should cover shift in shifting business partners. Okay, so wherever business partners are getting shifted, we'll see that. A department store chain that employs a single buyer. Employing a single buyer doesn't indicate any shift in partners. So clearly out. Automobile manufacturer that has used same supplier for several years. Clearly, we are not shifting the partners here. Hospital that contracts only with union personnel. Again, not shifting the partners. A municipal government that decides to cancel its contracts with waste disposal company, and instead hire its own staff to perform that function. So, should we keep it or eliminate it? Are we shifting partners here? In option D?
No, sir.
Option D says, instead of doing it through a partner, we'll do it ourselves. So that's not shifting from partner 1 to partner 2. No. Okay. We were getting it done through a partner. Right now, we'll do it ourselves. That's not shifting the partner. It's not, we are not shifting partners from partner 1 to partner 2 to partner 3. No. Option E, a corporation that changes the food service supplier for its corporate headquarters several times. Yes, definitely. We're changing the partner many times. That's the example of that. Understood, everyone? Again, not
Yes, sir.
difficult. Any doubt with this? Let me know. Let's see question number 5. Question number 5 is, I think, a little tricky question here. Let's see. Which of the following is cited in the passage as evidence supporting the author's claim about the new research referred to this? First of all, initially, if you're not used to such language, you'll take some time to just understand what the question is asking. Am I right on that? It'll take
Yes,
some
sir.
time. You'll have, you'll be reading it at least twice, this question itself, as to what exactly we need to do. Okay. Now let's see. Let's try to break it down. Evidence supporting the author's claim about the new research. What is author saying about this new research?
That this relationship is unjustified.
That assumption is unjustified. That assumption is
and,
somewhat wrong, right?
and then he cites an example.
So see, let's decode it first. Author, see, what is the author's view about this new research? Author is saying that assumption is wrong. So anything which supports this claim that assumption is wrong. What assumption? That the Japanese companies are using strategic partnership. So the assumption is that Japanese companies are using strategic partnership. New research, according to the author, new research shows that this assumption is wrong. This assumption wrong means Japanese companies are not using strategic partnership. So the answer should support that Japanese companies are not using strategic partnership. Understood, first of all? Let me know if there is any doubt with what I just said. According to author, new research says that Japanese companies are not using strategic partnerships. So anything which supports that should be our answer. Let's see. The belief within Western management circles regarding the extent to which Japanese firms rely on strategic partnerships. So, what is the belief among Western management circles? The belief is that Japanese companies use strategic partnership, but we need an example that says, we need an option that says they're not using the strategic partnership. So it's exactly opposite of what we need. Can we say that?
Yes, sir.
Yes. We need an example. We need an option that says Japanese companies are not using strategic partnership. But the belief within Western management circles is that they are using the strategic partnership practice. So it's opposite of what we need. Any doubt with this? Let me know. The surprising number of European and US businesses that have this, totally out of context, totally irrelevant. We're not concerned with, the new research is not concerned with European or US businesses. Response of Western automobile, new research doesn't talk about the response of Western automobile manufacturers. No. The prevalence of market exchange relationships between Japanese firms and suppliers. Yes. So market exchange is opposite of strategic partnership. Okay. Option D says, so in Japanese firms, market exchange relationships are very prevalent. So that is opposite to strategic partnership. That's what the new research says. Can we keep option D? Everybody understood this? Market exchange relationships, prevalence of that is anti-strategic partnership. So that's what the new research is about. E, success of a certain Japanese automobile manufacturer that favors strategic partnership. Again, this is opposite of what we need. Option E would say that Japanese automobile manufacturers are using strategic partnership for their success. So that is opposite to that. Option D is the only one which says that the Japanese companies are not using strategic partnership. Is that clear, everyone?
Sir, it's the same as what is mentioned in the second paragraph,
Yes,
right?
yes,
In the later
yes.
part of the
New research is mentioned in second paragraph only. Yes. And it's talking about that in Japanese companies. If you see the last or second last line, actually, it says, not only do a Japanese firm conduct far smaller proportion of their business through strategic, but also they make extensive use of market exchange relationship. So this is, this is just showing that Japanese companies are not using strategic partnership. Okay. And the author is saying, what the author mentions about this evidence. It should be part of the paragraph itself, passage itself. Okay. It's not something, it's not some analogy or example. It's something which is already mentioned in the paragraph in support of this new research. Understood, everyone? So fifth question, I would say, is the tricky question. Tricky because, it could be a little difficult to decode the question itself. And to keep that thing in mind while reading the options, that could be a little, challenging initially. See, I'm not saying this is a very difficult question going forward, but initially when you are not used to this kind of stuff, then this could be a little challenging initially. But trust me, going forward, after like 5-10 RCs, after 1 or 2 classes, this won't be a big deal for you guys. Okay. Okay, let's try one more paragraph. Any doubt with this at any point?
No, sir.
All right. Let's come to third paragraph. The content is a little heavy here. So my advice, my suggestion initially would be read it slow. Read it slow. Try to understand every line before moving to the next line. Okay. So the reason why people have to read a passage twice is that they don't, they move forward without getting every particular line, without understanding the meaning of every line. Maybe you'll have to spend more time on a particular line initially. Do that. Make it a habit that you don't have to read it twice. Make it a habit. Okay, that's very important. I mean, if you are in practice, you are reading the passage twice and you hope ki in actual exam you will do it in one instance, that's not going to happen. Whatever you practice, you cannot do better than that in actual exam. Just take it that way. Okay. Take 3-4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes for this paragraph. I mean, this whole the passage. Read it slow. Be careful about every word, and then we'll discuss it. Okay. Again, same method. Read the passage. We'll read it again, and then we'll come to questions. Okay. Okay, everybody gone through?
Yeah.
Let's read it. Most species of animals, the number of individuals in the species is inversely proportional to the average body size for members of the species. Okay, the smaller the body size, the larger the number of individual animals. Okay? So it's like a general, a rule, natural rule. Okay, the tamarin, a small South American monkey, breaks this rule. Okay? Of the 10 primate species studied in Peru's Manu National Park, 2 species of tamarins, saddleback and emperor, are 8th and 9th least abundant, respectively. Only the pygmy marmoset, which is even smaller, is less abundant. So this part of the first paragraph simply talks about how the tamarin, the tamarin breaks certain natural rule. Okay, it's all about that, and example of that is given. Okay, in Peru's Manu National Park, that's their ranking. It's just an example. The tamarin's scarcity is not easily explained. It cannot be dismissed as a consequence of diet, because tamarins feed on same mixture of fruit, nectar, and small prey, as do several of their numerous larger counterparts, including the 2 capuchins, such as known as squirrel monkey and the night monkey. Although the relative proportions of the fruits consumed varies, it's hard to imagine that such subtle differences are crucial to understanding the relative. See, the first part is the tamarin breaks certain natural rules. Okay, and the second part is that this cannot be explained. Be explained just by the diet. Okay, diet alone cannot. We cannot explain it as a consequence of diet, because differences, if you see, it's hard to imagine that such subtle differences are crucial to understanding this. Okay, diet alone cannot be used to explain this, breaking of the rule. That's what first paragraph is about. Second paragraph, let's see. To emphasize just how anomalously rare tamarins are, we can compare them to other omnivorous primates in the community. Now, if you see the other 2 paragraphs in the 2 passages that we've already done, the second paragraph used to start with however, something like that, a contradictory word. This one doesn't start with that. What does it mean? What do you make of this? Anyone?
That we are going in that same direction, and this is just we are just talking about
right. So see, no however means we are not going to say anything opposite. That's very obvious, needless to explain. And if there is no however, if we are not going anywhere opposite to what is mentioned in first, then so you need to think in what direction we are going. What would be explained in second paragraph? Okay, you have to ask this question to yourself, so that while you are reading first 1 or 2 lines of the second paragraph, you know where you are heading. So
okay.
The first,
So in the first paragraph, I came through this line that tamarin's scarcity is not easily explained. So I thought maybe in the second paragraph, this scarcity may be explained.
No, but it's not explaining the reason of scarcity. It's simply explaining how rare they are,
Okay.
how anomalous they are. Okay.
All right.
The scarcity, they are explaining the extent of scarcity. Right? It doesn't say they'll explain the reasons of scarcity. No. Getting my point?
Yes, sir.
So in second paragraph, when we read the first line, we get to know that, it's going to start. I don't know how it'll end, but it's going to start by explaining the extent of the rarity. Okay. In terms of number of individuals per square kilometer, maybe it will mention it in 2-3 different parameters. The first parameter is in terms of number of individuals per kilometer. They rank well below the 2 capuchins, the squirrel monkey and the night monkey. So this is like one criteria or one parameter. Second, in terms of biomass, the total weight of individuals that occupy a unit area of habitat. Each tamarin species is present at only 1/20th the mass of brown capuchins or 1/10th that of squirrel monkeys. This is second parameter, second criteria. To gain another perspective. So, I mean, some other perspective is coming. Consider the spatial requirements of tamarins. Tamarins are rigidly territorial. Territorial means vigorously expelling any intruders that may stray within the sharply defined boundaries of their domains. Okay, not allowing anyone else to come to their territory. That's what territorial means. Like dogs, right? Groups invest in an appreciable part of their time and energy in patrolling their territorial boundaries, announcing their presence to the neighbors with shrill, sweeping cries. Okay, so it's explaining the extent of their territorial nature. Okay, so and I mean, to gain another perspective means this is giving me something different from what was mentioned. Okay, different but not opposite, right? Different doesn't mean opposite. Such concerted territoriality is rather exceptional among primates. So another, anomalous behavior they're explaining. Though the gibbons and siamangs of Asia show it, as do few other New World species such as TT and night monkeys. Some examples who actually show it, but it's rather exceptional. What is most surprising about tamarin territories is their size. Okay, another angle that is coming up, which is the size of the tamarin territories. TT monkeys routinely live within territories of 6 to 8 hectares. Night monkeys seldom defend more than 10 hectares. But tamarin groups routinely occupy 30 to 120. So they occupy large area compared to others. That's what it says. Contrast this with 1 to 2 hectares needed by the common North American gray squirrel, right? So it's like contrasting in terms of the surprisingly large area that tamarin groups need. A group of tamarins use about as much space as a troop of brown capuchins, though the latter weighs 15 times as much. Okay, again, the extent of large territory that they need compared to the size. Thus, in addition to being rare, tamarins require an amount of space that seems completely out of proportion. So, second paragraph talks about two kind of differences, two surprising differences. One is how anomalously rare they are. Okay, in addition to being rare, so the extent of their rarity, the scarcity. Second part, where it starts from to gain another perspective, their territory requirement is completely out of proportion of their size. They need exceptionally large area compared to other places. So second is all about how rare they are and the size of the territory. Okay, I mean uncommon size of the territory that they need. That's all it is about. Okay, so if you see, there is no good or bad thing discussed here. It's just explaining what it is, explaining certain facts, right? So this is the kind of passage, and we'll discuss about the kind of passage more in the second class. Right now, let's focus on the content part as to what exactly and how exactly we need to do it. Okay,
Sir,
any doubt?
Sir, and also with respect to the previous passages that we did, this contained huge amount of information. But while I was going through the passage, I wrote some information, but that might not be applicable when I am taking the actual examination. But
no, don't worry about that. Right now, if you need to take notes to keep track of things, take it. And
right,
let me tell you, if you're saying you'll not be able to do that in actual exam, you're wrong.
Okay.
You're wrong.
All right.
Trust me. You will be taking notes for RC, for long RCs, for tough RCs. You will be taking. Okay.
All right.
And let me tell you, you'll be taking critical reasoning questions. Critical reasoning questions are like 3 to 4 lines max. Okay.
Correct.
And you'll see a lot of content in those 3-4 lines. Trust
Correct.
me, with difficult critical reasoning passages, you'll still be taking notes.
Absolutely. Yes.
It's the best practice. See,
All right.
in exam, you'll have 50-60 questions to answer, right? More than that.
Correct.
So taking notes take away some burden from your mind. So that fatigue factor, that effect of that fatigue factor would be a little lesser. Getting your point?
Alright.
So taking notes,
Yes.
just make it a habit from day one, no problem. Okay.
Yeah.
So going forward
Okay.
with easy questions, you'll not be taking notes. With tough things, you will be taking notes. But right now, if you want to take notes if you feel you need to take notes, take it. Don't worry. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So let's go through the questions. Take again, how many questions are there? Oh, 7 questions. Take 7-8 minutes. Again, maybe 10 minutes. Don't worry. Go through. Some of the questions would be tricky here. I can see. Okay. Go through these questions.
Mohit,
Yeah.
what can be the one-line summary of each passage?
Okay, let's talk about that. So, first paragraph is about tamarins breaking a rule, natural rule, right? Breaking a rule, and diet cannot explain that. Diet alone cannot explain that. One sentence, but 2 small parts to it, right? That is okay. There is no problem with that. Okay. And second paragraph is extent of rarity, extent of how rare they are, rare tamarins are, and exceptional territory size. Okay, so when you summarize, you don't have to get into the content because content is huge. So extent of rarity is mentioned in 2-3 ways, and then territory is also mentioned in 2-3 ways. Got it, Kamal?
Yeah, I got it, but I got
And this is
into
okay.
what can be the summary.
The one that is
I
mentioned.
understood the passage, but while making summary.
So, but did you understand it? That's
Yes, I
sufficient
understood.
to summarize it. That's
Yes, yes,
sufficient.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Don't have to get into details. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So, okay, give a try to the questions. Again, read them slow. If you have to refer to the passage again, do that. Don't worry about that. Okay, let's see the questions. Okay. First, I think everybody is mentioning A in first. The author indicates that the tamarind territories are what? Surprisingly large, yes. 10 hectares, 6 to 8 hectares, 1 to 2 hectares for others. It's 30 to 120 hectares for tamarinds. So A is the only option we can pick. Okay, surprisingly large. If you see other options, poorly situated, we're not talking about how they are situated. Abundant in food resources, we are not no, we're not talking about that. Incapable of supporting large troops of tamarins. Again, that's not the point anywhere. It doesn't talk about that they're not capable of supporting. That's not the point mentioned. Okay, the author is not talking about that. Larger in Peru than in other parts of South America. Again, that comparison is not made anywhere. Okay, it's not made anywhere. So I think option A would be the first question would be easy for everyone to eliminate and pick the right option. Okay. I think second also is similar. The author mentions spatial requirements of gray squirrel in order to, okay, why is it mentioned? That's a question. So we have seen that question in other two passages also. Where is that mentioned? North American gray squirrel. Okay. Contrast this. Contrast what? Contrast the tamarin groups routinely occupy this much area. Contrast this to the 1 to 2 hectares needed by gray squirrel. So this is to contrast. This is to show this is to compare. This is to show how large the areas required by tamarin groups are. That's the only purpose. Okay. Why is it mentioned? Just to show that the area occupied by tamarin monkeys is surprisingly large, exceptionally large. Let's see. Explain why they are so common? No. Frequency of availability is not being mentioned. Demonstrate the consequences of their non-territoriality. Non-territoriality is not mentioned along with gray squirrels. Again, consequences of that? No. Emphasize the unusual territorial requirement of tamarin? Yes. Okay, we are contrasting with this. 1 to 2 are required by gray and 30 to 120. It's unusual requirements of the tamarin. That's the only purpose. Why is it mentioned? Is it what everybody picked? Yes. Provide an example of major difference between squirrels and monkeys. We are not talking about squirrels and monkeys. We are talking about, we are not talking about major differences between them. We're not saying that 1, 2, 3, these are the differences between squirrels and monkeys, and this is one of the differences. No, it's only about the territory size. Okay, can you see that difference, that subtle difference between C and D? D simply says this is one of the differences mentioned. No, we're not mentioning other differences. This is not in that context. Getting the point? Context is very important. We are not using this line in that context. Provide an example of an animal with requirements similar to, not similar. It's showing dissimilarity. It's showing differences, not similarity. So again, factually wrong. C is the only answer we can pick. Let's see, third. The author regards the differences between diets of tamarins and several large species as. Now it's mentioned in the last line of the first paragraph. Although the relative proportions of fruits consumed varies somewhat among species, it's hard to imagine that such subtle differences are crucial to understanding the relative rarity. So what it says is subtle differences. Subtle means very small differences. They are sufficient, they are crucial to understanding the relative rarity of tamarins. So differences in diets cannot explain something. So the differences between diets is mentioned, or it's regarded as generally explicable in terms of territory size, not explicable. Okay. Apparently too small to explain the rarity of tamarins. Yes, it's like that is getting rephrased. That's it. Okay. Again, we are talking about something which is a phrase that is being picked, the difference between diets, and we have to mention it in that context only. So the differences are wholly predictable. See, we are not talking whether the differences are explainable or not, whether explicable or predictable. Okay, we are not predicting the differences in diets or explaining the differences in diets. We're saying, can this difference between diets be used to explain the rarity? That's the whole point. Okay, so C is again totally irrelevant. A result of rigid territoriality. Territoriality is not even mentioned there, if you know. It's mentioned somewhere in the middle of the second paragraph, not there. A significant factor? No, it's not a significant factor. That's the whole point. It's B, option B. Everybody picked that? Yes. Okay. Fourth, what would be regarded by the author as anomalous? Okay, anomalous means uncommon, kind of a rare thing. Okay. Large primate species that eats mostly plants. Is that rare? Is the author talking about, I mean, does the author say that large primates only eat non-vegetarian stuff? They don't eat plants? No, that's the point, not mentioned anywhere. A species of small mammals that is fiercely territorial. Okay, is it mentioned anywhere?
No.
Kamal, you picked it. So is it mentioned anywhere?
Like for the
What it says
anomalous,
is
they mentioned
that
like
this kind of territoriality is rather not common among primates, not mammals,
oh, okay, okay.
right? It's about primates, not mammals. Getting my point?
Yes, yes.
You go there. I mean, just let's have a quick look. If you see this, such territoriality is rather exceptional among primates, not mammals. Okay.
Okay, okay. Yeah.
So maybe that point maybe you missed, right?
Yes, yes.
So that's why B is also out. Two species of small primates that share the same territories. I mean, again, is it mentioned that one single territory cannot be shared by two different primates? Does the passage say that anywhere? If you see this, tamarins feed on the same mixture of fruit, nectar, and small prey as do several more. I mean, does it say anywhere that two species of primates cannot be in the same territory? Does it say that anywhere? I mean, all in all, if it says anything, if it says such territoriality is rather exceptional, that means there are almost all the primate species, they are not territorial. That means they will be living in same territory. It's the opposite thing that it says actually. Right? Everybody who has picked C? Anybody picked C? No, I don't think. So again, this is not mentioned anywhere. So this is not an anomaly. The species of small birds that is more abundant than many species of large birds. Again, the rule is smaller the bird, more abundant they are, larger their number. So again, this is not an anomaly. This is a common thing. Okay. Species of small rodents that require more space than species of large. Yes. Okay. I mean, as a general rule, larger species should require more space, but anomaly would be a smaller species requiring more space. That's mentioned in the second paragraph. Okay. I don't think anybody has any doubt with this. Everybody's marking E for this. Right. Fifth, the author most probably regards the tamarin studied in Manu National Park as. Okay. Let's see. This is a tricky question, and I think people are getting different answers for this. We have A, we have B, we have not decided as well. Let's see. An endangered species. Does the author say tamarins are endangered? Anywhere does it say? Aman?
No, sir. And they are living in huge territories.
So they are not
So maybe-
endangered. Endangered would be totally different.
Okay, sir, but considering other options, typical.
We'll come to that. We'll come to that. We'll come to other options. But this alone is not mentioned anywhere, isn't it?
Correct.
I mean, being endangered, any species being endangered or not, that's not mentioned anywhere in the paragraph. The paragraph doesn't touch upon this thing, right? For any species, actually. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. B, typical tamarins. Let's do one thing. Let's come to this option later. Let's see other options. Unusually docile. Docile means like calm, peaceful. Are they peaceful? No, they're actually territorial, fiercely territorial. So even this can't be our answer, right? The most unusual primates anywhere. I mean, they are unusual in one or two ways, but they are most unusual. And I mean, remember this word most, we need to be a little suspicious about this word. It doesn't say they are most unusual. They are saying they are rare, they are anomalous in one or two ways, in terms of territory size, in terms of the rarity. I mean, number of people, or I mean, the size or a number of individuals in that species. Okay, so too small a sample to be significant. Again, does it mention anywhere too small a sample to be significant? I mean, they're not significant.
No, sir.
No, they might be rare, but are they insignificant? That's not the point made. No, that's totally out of scope of the passage, whether they're significant or not. That leaves us with only one option, B, typical tamarins. See, tamarins studied in Manu National Park. Does the author say that the tamarins in Manu National Park are different from tamarins elsewhere?
The author doesn't say that, but the author also doesn't say that the
They are typical.
tamarins at Manu represent or like are typical.
I mean, so what you're saying is that the author doesn't say that the tamarins in Manu are not typical tamarins, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see. The tamarin breaks this rule. Okay. Of the 10 species studied in Peru's map, for example, it's an example of this breaking this rule itself. It's typical breaking this rule, isn't it? Right? Come on.
Yeah, you got it.
It's the typicality of the tamarins that's mentioned as an example. Peru's this national park is just used as an example of how tamarins are. Got it?
Got it. Yeah, this was tricky actually.
This is tricky. Yes, this was tricky. I said it earlier as well. This was tricky, a little tricky. Which of the following is not mentioned in the passage as a species whose groups display territoriality? Let's see. It's mentioned very clearly. Such territoriality is exceptional, though gibbons and siamangs show it, as do TT and night monkeys. So gibbons, siamangs, TT and night monkeys are territorial. They show territoriality. So 4 of them are mentioned as being territorial. So the 5th option definitely would be our answer. So gibbons are territorial, siamangs are, TT monkeys are, night monkeys are. Squirrel monkeys are not mentioned as territorial. So D would be the answer. That's all. That's what everybody picked. So yeah, correct. I mean, that would be the easiest question by far. Primary concern, recommend a policy. I mean, what policy and what recommendation? Both are out. Evaluate a theory. Are we evaluating any theory? Again, there is no theory and there is no evaluation. I mean, if you are worried about or if you are concerned about the meanings of these words, evaluate and those kind of things, just wait for second class. We'll talk about all these things in second class about primary purpose questions. Okay. Describe an unusual condition. Unusual, tamarins are unusual, and it's describing all about that. Let's keep it. Explain the development of a hypothesis. Again, no hypothesis is mentioned. Competing hypothesis. What competing? I mean, we don't have any hypothesis. Forget about multiple hypotheses. C is the only option we can pick. Okay. So are you guys getting hang of what RCs are all about? I think, I mean, do you want to
Yes.
do more RCs or that's it for today?
One more.
One more. It's a large RC, and let's do one thing. We'll have to do it quickly. Let's do one thing. Read the RC, okay, and then we'll do the questions together. Okay, because we have
Okay.
less than 20 minutes to do this. So read the RC once, and then I'll quickly go through the RC, and then we'll do the questions together. Okay,
All right.
give it a try. And
Yep.
just read it. Once you're done, just let me know. Okay, everybody gone through? Let's discuss. Milankovitch proposed in early 20th century that ice ages were caused by variations in Earth's orbit and around the sun. For some time, this theory was considered untestable, largely because there were no sufficiently precise technology of ice ages with which the orbital variations could be matched. So first paragraph just introduces a theory, Milankovitch theory, which could not be tested. Be tested for a long time. That's it. Okay, it just mentions that. Right? So that's what it says. Now see, to establish such a chronology, it is necessary to determine the relative amounts of land ice that existed at various times in Earth's past. A recent discovery makes this possible. So whatever was untestable up until now, this recent discovery makes it possible. That's the whole point. So further, it would be explaining how that determination is possible. Let's see. Relative land ice volume of for a given period can be deduced from the ratio of two oxygen isotopes, 16 and 18, found in ocean sediments. Almost all the oxygen in water is 16, but a few molecules out of every 1,000 incorporate the heavier one, 18. When an ice age begins, the continental ice sheets grow, steadily reducing the amount of water evaporated from the ocean that will eventually return to it. Okay. So when ice age begins, ice sheets grow, water evaporation would be reduced, and evaporation that will eventually return to it. So that evaporation gets reduced because heavier isotopes tend to be left behind when water evaporates from the ocean surfaces. The remaining ocean water becomes progressively enriched in oxygen 18. So when evaporation happens, oxygen 18 gets left behind. Okay, when evaporation happens, so it will become more and more enriched in oxygen 18. The degree of enrichment can be determined by analyzing ocean sediments of that period, because these sediments are composed of calcium carbonate shells of marine organisms, shells that were constructed with oxygen atoms drawn from the surrounding ocean. Higher the ratio of oxygen 18 to 16 in a sedimentary specimen, more land ice was there when the sediment was laid down. So in terms of summary, how a new discovery makes such determination possible, that's the summary. If we get into some details, I mean, if we have to summarize it, this is one line summary, but let's get into some details as to how this happens. So the calcium carbonate shells of marine organisms, they are constructed with oxygen atoms from the surrounding ocean. Okay, so by studying those calcium carbonate shells, by analyzing the ratio of 18 to 16 from them, we can analyze this ratio from of the water from the surrounding ocean, and by that ratio we can figure out what how much land ice was there. Everybody with me on this? The shells take water, shells take oxygen atoms from surrounding waters in the ocean. So whatever ratio of 18 to 16 in those shells would be there, that would indicate extent of ice, land ice at that time. Everybody okay with this? Any doubt with this understanding? Let me know. So second is all about how that new discovery makes things possible. As an indicator of shifts in Earth's climate, the isotope record has two advantages. Okay, so isotope record, it has two advantages. What? First, it's a global record. There is remarkably little variation in isotope ratios taken from different continental locations. So one advantage is globally, it's like very, there is little variation globally, so you can take a specimen from one place, and you can, make what do you say? Make some prediction or make some generalization about the whole world. Okay, so that's what it is. Second, it's more continuous record than that taken from rocks on land. So compared to the record taken from rocks, it's more continuous. Okay, so continuous means, I mean, it would be available without any gaps. But that's the meaning of having a continuous record. Because of these advantages, sedimentary evidence can be dated with sufficient accuracy by radiometric methods to establish a precise chronology. Okay, the dated isotope records shows that fluctuations of global ice volume over the past several 100,000 years have a pattern. The ice age occurs roughly once every 100,000 years. These data have established a strong connection between variation of Earth's orbit and periodicity of ice ages. So third paragraph is all about the advantages that these isotope records has. Two advantages. Okay, and the results of the findings. Okay, so the findings are ice age occurs once every 100,000 years, and the data have established a strong connection between variations of Earth's orbit and periodicity of ice ages. Now, from the last line, what do we say about Milankovitch's theory? Does it, I mean, do the results prove it or disapprove it? What do you say? They are in line with what Milankovitch said, or it's opposite of that? Anyone?
Sir, it
In
is
line.
In line with that. Okay, because what Milankovitch said that ice ages are caused by variations in Earth's orbit, and it establishes a connection between those two things. Okay, so the findings of the study actually kind of are in line with what Milankovitch said. Okay, so two advantages plus results of the study are mentioned in third paragraph. However, okay, something opposite is coming. Till now, nothing, however, was there. It is important to note that other factors such as volcanic particulates and variations in amount of sunlight received by Earth could potentially have affected the climate. So other than the ice age, I mean, other than the variations in Earth's orbit, other factors such as volcanic particulates or amount of sunlight received could have affected the climate. So it starts by talking about other potential factors. Right? So the advantage of the Milankovitch theory is that it is testable. Changes in Earth's orbit can be calculated, by Newton's law of gravity. Yet the lack of information about other possible factors does not make them unimportant. So the last line simply says, just because we cannot test other factors, it doesn't mean they are unimportant. Okay, so the passage ends with that line. Okay, so the final paragraph is all about other possible factors. Other potential factors that could have affected the climate. Okay, any doubt with any point in the paragraph?
Mohit, one thing.
Yeah.
In the second paragraph, like it is mentioned, steadily reducing the amount of water evaporated from the ocean that will eventually return to it. What does it mean?
See, let's say there is a river. Water gets evaporated from that.
Yes.
Okay, evaporated, and then the rains happen, rains or snow. Right.
Yes. Yes.
So that gets returned to it, no? In that sense.
Then how they will get enriched in oxygen 18?
Honestly, I don't know. Honestly, I didn't understand that part. Honestly.
Okay.
But that's not important. Trust me.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Trust me, that's not important. Okay. See, it's not that my English is better than yours or someone else's. Okay. So GMAT is not even testing that. Okay. What matters is, do you understand can you summarize the paragraph? That's all that it is. Okay. Even I didn't understand how it will get enriched in oxygen 18 and so forth. I think that's a point you're mentioning, right?
Yes, yes,
Even
yes.
I don't understand that fully.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to get into that. It's not required.
Because I
Okay,
tried to
we'll
get
see.
into that and
Don't try to get into that. trust me.
lost some minutes.
It's lost minutes, yes.
So in these passages, will we
Hmm.
ever see questions like for example pertaining to the facts of the passage, like we were discussing right now, right? Like we couldn't, like even I couldn't understand how it actually got rich in oxygen 18. So will we ever see questions like that which will be
No,
pertaining to
see, it will test on certain things. It can, because there will be one question which talks about higher ratio means what.
Hmm.
That thing we understand. Higher the
Yeah.
ratio, more land ice was there at that time.
Yeah.
It could be based on that.
Okay,
Okay.
got it.
So, trust me, whatever question it'll ask, that information would be, deductible from that. Okay.
Got it. Perfect. Thanks.
Let's see. First paragraph. Author is primarily concerned with suggesting an alternative to an outdated research method. Are we talking about a research method that has become outdated? No, nowhere in the passage. Okay. We're talking about a new discovery that makes things possible. We're not talking about earlier research method that is outdated. No. Introducing a new research method that calls an accepted theory into question. Is the new method calling an accepted theory into question? No. It's actually in line with what Milankovitch proposed. Right? So even that is out. Emphasizing the instability of data. Are we talking about that data is unstable?
No.
No. Presenting a theory and describing a new method to test that theory. Yes.
Correct.
Milankovich's theory and a new method that can be used to test that theory. Yes. Initiating a debate about a widely accepted. Are we initiating any debate? No.
Not at all.
Okay. And at no point we are questioning that theory. Even the results of the new method prove that theory to some extent. Okay. So D is the answer. Author would be most likely to agree with which of the following statements about Milankovich's theory. Okay. It's the only possible explanation for ice ages? No. Is it the only possible? No, it says there are other factors that could be, that could have played the role. Okay. So out. It's too limited to provide a plausible. No, it doesn't say it's too limited. It does say it provides a plausible explanation. There is a connection that has been established after the theory. Does it say it's too limited to be of any use? Does it say that?
No.
No. It cannot be tested. Wrong. It can be tested now. Okay. It is one plausible explanation, though not the only one. Yes.
Correct.
It is one plausible. Okay. That's a feasible explanation, but it may not be the only one. Okay. Definitely that's what is mentioned. It's not a plausible explanation. Wrong. It doesn't say it's not plausible. It doesn't say that. Okay. Third, it can be inferred from the passage that the isotope record taken from ocean sediments would be less useful to researchers if which of the following were true. I mean, two advantages are mentioned. One, it's a global record. I mean, globally, there is little variation. And second, it's more continuous. There are no gaps. The record is more continuous. Let's see. So if any one of them is, kind of refuted, that would be our answer. It indicated that lighter isotopes of oxygen predominated at certain times. I mean, would it make any difference? It
No,
actually says that most of it is oxygen 18, the lighter isotopes. It itself says that. Okay. I mean, and that's not even a problem. It's not a problem area. It had far more gaps in its sequence than the record taken from rocks. Does it affect the continuity of the record?
So, but it is said, right, that it is continuous with respect to the rocks on land, the ocean
No. It says
sediments.
it would be less useful in what case? If which of the following were true? It's a hypothetical situation.
So it might refute some fact that is given
It might
in the
reflect
passage.
that one of the advantages that's been given, or the way it, the way the results or the way the theory works, or the research works, or the method works.
There was one fact that compared the rocks on land sediments and the ocean sediments. Can we go to the
1 second. That's the second point is all about that, no? See, if you see the third one, third paragraph, it's global record. That's one advantage. And second, it's continuous, more continuous than that taken from rocks.
taken from rocks? Okay.
So if that was not the case, then it would be problematic. Then it will be less useful to us, no?
All right.
More useful
So we
because
are-
it's continuous. So
Okay. So we are refuting this fact
yes. Question is
or
if it were
advantage.
true. If it were true.
All right.
Okay. Question is if which of the following were true. That means it's a hypothetical situation we are talking about. If it had far more gaps in the sequence, then it would be less useful. Right? Right now the passage said it's more useful because it's continuous. So had it got more gaps, it would be less useful. Understood, everyone? Any doubts with this?
All right.
Yeah. It indicated that climate shift did not occur every 100,000 years. So, I mean, this is just a finding of the study. I mean, we can't say that the study is useful because it found this. Does that make sense? Just because the study found something, if the study did not found that thing, it would be less useful. We can't say that. It's just a finding of the study. I mean, had it been something else, we would have taken it that way. Okay. It indicated that ratios of oxygen 16 and 18 in ocean were not consistent with those found in fresh water. Don't you think it's totally wrong? Because they were not consistent. It actually says they are not consistent. Isn't it? Because in fresh water, you'll have 16 to 18 ratio, whatever 16 to 18. In ocean, it can have more 16 to 18 ratio. Because in fresh water, I mean, fresh water, how does fresh water get created? By evaporation and then precipitation. So during evaporation, only 16 gets evaporated. So the ratio actually would be different. Getting my point, everyone? So had the ratios been different, they're actually different. It's not a hypothetical condition. Understood, everyone?
Yes.
Okay. It stretched back for only 1 million years. I mean, that's the passage itself says that we have studied the million year thing only. Okay. Does it mention that million year thing anywhere?
So only a million years would mean, let's say, 3 million years or 4 million years. So we would have
had it been only, let's say, million means 10 lakhs years old.
100,000.
100,000 is 1 lakh. Million is 10 lakhs. Right. So if we have data of only 10 lakh years, would it be less useful? No. Because I mean, it will still tell me that ice age occurs every 1 lakh years, 100,000 years. Right? Are we saying we need more than 1 million year data? Anywhere? Are we saying that? I mean, is that the premise of the new method? That it will be useful only if it is more than 1 million year data? No. That's not the premise. So if that is not a condition, how would it make it less useful? Okay. It's stretched back only for 1 million years. Still, it will be same. I mean, it will be equally useful as it is right now. Okay. It's not a condition. Okay.
So, sir, are we looking for a weakener?
Yes.
Some sort of a
Weaker
weakener?
means, see, the study or the isotope record taken from ocean sediments would be less useful. So the data would be less useful in what sense? It would be less useful if it hits one utility point. Right?
Correct.
A point which is of some use, if it hits it, it will make it less useful. I mean, getting data for only 1 million years, is that a premise for the study to be useful?
No, sir.
Is that a condition? No. One condition definitely is there, that it should be consistent, continuous data. That advantage is mentioned there. Advantage means it's of some utility. As simple as that. Why would we mention it as an advantage otherwise? Okay. So B is the only option that finds some gap in utility of that. Okay. Let's see fourth. According to the passage, which the following is true of the ratios of oxygen isotopes in ocean sediments. Okay. They indicate that sediments found during an ocean ice age contain more calcium carbonate than sediments formed at other. Are we talking about calcium carbonate? Quantity of calcium carbonate. Are we talking about that anywhere?
No,
sir.
no.
We're talking about oxygen 16 to 18 or 18 to 16 ratio. Quantity of calcium carbonate is not a concern. They are less reliable than the evidence from rocks. Wrong. They're more reliable actually. They have some advantage over the data or the information that we get from rocks. Okay. So it's factually wrong. They can be used to deduce the relative volume of land ice that was present when the sediment was laid down. Yes. The last line of the second paragraph, that's what it tells. Okay. Ratio of oxygen isotopes. It tells me relative volume of land ice. If you see the last line of the second paragraph, that's exactly what it says. Higher the ratio of oxygen 18 to 16, more land ice was there when the sediment was laid down. Exactly same thing. That's what it says. So so the ratio of the oxygen isotopes, they're used to deduce this thing. Definitely, let's keep it. They are more unpredictable during ice age. That comparison is not made. They're more unpredictable during ice age than in other climate conditions. That's not mentioned anywhere. They can be used to determine atmospheric conditions at various times in the past. Are we talking about atmospheric conditions?
No, sir.
Ice age.
Ice age.
Ice
No.
age. Just ice age. Not about any other atmospheric condition. Okay. And it's just land ice. That's all that we can deduce out of them. What information we deduce out of that, whether ice age was there or not, that's not a concern. Okay. If we compare C and D, this is the direct thing that we get from that, relative volume of land ice. So C wins compared to E. Okay, let's see fifth. Okay, fifth is a little tricky. It can be inferred from the passage that precipitation formed from evaporated ocean water has. Precipitation means, rainfall or snow. That's what precipitation is. So, what gets evaporated from ocean water? Only oxygen 16 gets evaporated. That's mentioned. 18 doesn't get evaporated, it gets left behind. So the precipitation, whatever gets evaporated, it has more oxygen 18. The evaporation. Okay, evaporation and subsequent precipitation. It will have same isotopic ratio as ocean water. Wrong. Ocean water will have more oxygen 18. Right?
Yes.
Will have less oxygen 18 than does ocean water. Yes.
Yes.
Because in evaporation 18 doesn't get evaporated. Definitely there'll be less oxygen 18 in that. It has less oxygen 18 than has the ice contained in continental ice sheets. Wrong. It will have same. Because that ice that is made in continental ice sheet, that is made through precipitation only. So whatever gets evaporated, the same thing will get precipitated. So it'll have same ratio.
Sorry, can you explain this once?
So
Less
see, ice contained in continental ice sheets. That ice is from precipitation or not?
And this ice is only getting evaporated, right?
So whatever gets evaporated, the ice is made from precipitation of that evaporation. So how would that be different? Got it?
So, but oxygen 18 is not going into precipitation, correct?
That's why the amount of oxygen that is there in evaporation, would it be different from the ice in ice sheets? See, this evaporated thing, it will have different oxygen 18 to 16 ratio, different from only ocean water. Would it be different from anything else?
Okay.
But so
No.
this ice is different, not precipitation ice. Was
Okay.
it same?
Okay. So is it okay? Let's assume this ice is not formed from that precipitation. Let's assume it could be from some other source, right? Do we have any information which says it will have less oxygen 18 than that ice?
Yeah. Okay. Then
We
it
don't.
is.
We can't make that argument.
Yeah.
Okay. But it certainly has less than the ocean water. Definitely.
Yes. Okay.
A different isotopic composition that has precipitation formed from water and land. See, be it ocean water, be it water and land. After once evaporation happens, what goes up? Only oxygen 16. So would the isotopic composition be different from the water and land? Would it be
No.
different? No,
It would be
not be
same.
different. It'll be same. Because it doesn't matter whether it's ocean water or water on land, only oxygen 16 gets evaporated. So it doesn't matter how much oxygen 18 was there in the water, from which evaporation happens, only 16 gets evaporated. Okay. More oxygen 16 then has precipitation formed. Again, it will have exactly same oxygen 16. It will not have less, it will not have more. It will have exactly same. Okay. Any doubts? Any questions with this? So B is the answer. It is a little tricky. I mean, too much information. Sixth, according to the passage, which of the following are true of ice ages? The last ice age occurred about 25,000 years ago. Do we know that? No. Ice ages have lasted about 10,000 years. Does it say ice age lasts about 10,000 years? No.
No.
It occurs about every 100,000 years. Yes, that's the only thing that is mentioned. So 3 only. Okay. I mean, last happened 25,000 years ago, not mentioned. An ice age lasts about 10,000 years. Again, that's not even mentioned. That's the only thing that is, that's a finding of that research. Seventh, it can be, I mean, there are so many questions. Guys, I'm running late for the next session. So I would suggest you do these questions yourself and then we can
Yes.
take
Yes.
doubts.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
All
Yeah.
right, sir.
All right. I'll share the practice questions today evening and do go through them. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Bye bye.